Welcome to Beating Cancer Daily. Beating stage 4 cancer for 30 years still takes my breath away every time I say it. I'm Saranne, founder of the Comedy Cures Foundation, and I hope you'll join me for just a few minutes daily for the next 365 days so we may laugh, learn, maybe cry a little as we live our best days beating cancer daily together. I just read the funniest little joke and I have to share it with you because it put me in a really good mood, and you'll see why. Tomorrow, noun, a mystical land where 99% of all human productivity, motivation, and achievement is stored. I guess you know what I'm going to talk about. I feel like I want to shout it from the mountaintops. Procrastination. Now, cancer gives us the best excuse to procrastinate, because who's going to yell at us when we have a cancer diagnosis about procrastinating? It's the perfect get out of jail free card about procrastinating. Whether you have just been diagnosed, you're in treatment, you're a survivor, that procrastination card can be used, because people aren't going to yell at you at this time, or at least a lot of people won't. But I have to ask you a question, and that's, which one are you? Okay, you could pick 6. Perfectionist, dreamer, worrier, crisis maker, deferrer, overdoer. Should I read it again? Did one come to mind right away? I'm like a combination, but perfectionist, dreamer, worrier, crisis maker, deferrer, overdoer. Now, we're not supposed to label people. And I said, which one are you? I'm supposed to say, which behavior do you exhibit? That's more correct. So that's more correct. That wasn't even correct. That's correct. This was an article, book, paper by psychologist Linda Sapadine, and she explores these 6 types of procrastination. And she said that we really have to not label ourselves them so we get locked into these, but think about, which behaviors do you exhibit? I'm going to give you a second. Okay, tell me. Okay, I can't hear you. It's a podcast. But you can go to comedycures.org and hit the menu, or go to the podcast section and hit the record button and tell me, because I know so many of you now, or I feel like I do, that I love playing along with you when I ask you a question and you actually give me the answers, and we've gotten to know each other this way. But it's interesting because the theory is that these behaviors can help you stop procrastinating, because you can identify what behaviors go along with these labels, and then you can work backward to help yourself stop procrastinating. And I really loved that, because you could see how these different ideas, these different behaviors can really influence how quickly you do or do not do something that you have to do. And why am I doing an episode on procrastination? Because I'm procrastinating. I have to do something else. I've had a really big project to do that has nothing to do with this podcast or nothing to do with my charity. It's a family project, and it's so intense that I will do anything not to have to do that project. Now, are you guilty of this? Because it's actually written about how uber organized and efficient people will come to avoid doing the task they're procrastinating about. Now, I love doing the podcast. So, in this procrastination, I'm actually getting something accomplished, which is really important. But that's what they say. You will do everything, small or big, even if it's important, like doing a podcast. So when I observe my behavior, which I love to do, especially if I'm starting to feel stressed, I really take a minute and I look at what's causing the stress because I don't want to walk around in a stressful state. And I realized that I was actually feeling stressed about the project. And I was going to do a podcast episode in order to avoid doing the project. And I thought, oh my gosh, I have to do it on procrastination because this is really what's coming up for me. And out of the hundreds of episodes of Beating Cancer Daily, I really like to learn things that I'm going to incorporate right into my mind, body, spirit health care plan so that I just keep growing and I keep doing things to have optimal health. And if you've never heard an episode before, it's because I am a stage 4 cancer survivor with no visible disease. I was told to get my affairs in order and I beat it. And I was misdiagnosed 32 years ago. So to have gone through 3 surgeries, 44 radiation treatments, and 2.5 years of chemotherapy, and then beat it for 26 years since I was diagnosed and 23 years since I was told I had no visible disease. So these episodes are really authentic strategies. And I wanted to look at procrastination for my own self because let me go back to the list, or I can't say I am. They don't want us to label ourselves. So I do exhibit behaviors of perfectionist, a dreamer, and an overdoer. But see, now I'm a deferrer. I'm usually not a worrier or a crisis maker, but I can see how these are fluid behaviors, and that's why they really don't want you to label yourself. So I decided to do something super productive, and that was make this podcast. But a lot of times we do addictive behaviors in order to avoid the thing that we really should be doing. Can you guess what I'm going to say? We're all guilty of it. Come on. Except the one guy I did the podcast on who decided to give up all social media and entertainment. So yes, addictive behaviors to social media and binge watching television can actually be one of the ways that we avoid what we have to do and help us procrastinate. But sometimes procrastination is good only because it gives us time to really think through a problem. If we're truly using the time to think through a problem. I so identify with everything the psychologists write about procrastination. So what leads to procrastination? Psychologist Leslie Connor says that if we didn't grow up with a lot of self-discipline or self-monitoring, that could lead to a situation where we have to be under tremendous pressure to get things done. Like we thrive. We love the pressure. And I started to think about that. I really love pressure. I love working under pressure. It's like an adrenaline junkie in a weird way. I know it's not good for us, but I love pressure. I'm good at it. That's all I can say. But if I trace it back to my childhood, I didn't grow up with a lot of self-discipline or self-monitoring because my dad had this little bit of hippie side and he really wanted me just to have all this opportunity to be creative and fearless. And so he gave me a lot of leeway and he sent me to a school that didn't even have classroom ages. It was just this very open classroom type thing. So you could just explore and there weren't deadlines. So I see now that is something that I've started to learn later in life, self-discipline, self-monitoring. And it actually kicked a lot into gear when I got cancer because nothing was working and none of the treatments. And I had to really reinvent myself from the inside out. And so I guess beating cancer daily is 365 episodes of me reinventing myself before I met you and continuing to do it. And the research are showing that the methods that I do actually can really help impact the journey of cancer that you're on. Those are two really interesting studies. If you go to comedycures.org, you can see them. So I love this little cartoon by invisiblebread.com. And it says, I'm not a procrastinator. I just prefer doing all my work in a deadline induced panic. So, look, there are a lot of bad things that happen to us, our mind, body, and spirit when we procrastinate. And so I think we should really talk about them. And what is procrastination anyway? Let's get a definition so everybody is on the same page about it. Just a general definition is the act of delaying or putting off tasks until the last minute or past their deadline. And sometimes that can really have negative consequences. So, were you listening and going, no, I don't procrastinate? And now that you heard the definition, you're like, oh my gosh, I procrastinate. Well, let's just look at some of the negative impacts that procrastination can have. So it can cause depression, can cause anxiety, stress, loneliness. It can reduce you from socializing and having company and having these social interactions. So now, are you experiencing any of those things? And if you say yes, okay, so cancer diagnosis can make you have all those things. I just read that and I was like, that can be going through cancer, depression, anxiety, stress, loneliness, and reduced gatherings. Sounds like a cancer diagnosis. But what they're saying is that this can really also be because of procrastination. And so let's just look at it, right? It's just something that I was looking at my own behavior and I wanted to share it with you. So here are some other signs to look for. Do you put off getting things done? Do you push things to the last minute? Are you avoiding people? Are you making lots of excuses for why you can't get something done? Are you anxious about this? Are you overwhelmed? Well, I can tell you that the project that I'm procrastinating about, I was putting it off. I've waited past the last minute. I'm avoiding the people who need the project, and it's causing me anxiety. And I'm not really making excuses. I had a good excuse, ha ha ha. But when I read that, I was like, wow, I really am procrastinating. Do you feel my pain? Are you doing the same thing? And here's another beautiful meme I found online, but it's not attributed. So I'm just going to read it and thank the person who wrote it. And it says, I got so much procrastinating done today. That's really clever. Doesn't laughing at yourself and humor about the thing that's troubling you just make it all better? That's how I'm wired. That's why I started the Comedy Cures Foundation, because I like to infuse the funny in everything, whether it's my cancer treatment, marriage, raising kids. Oh, it just makes me feel so good and so refreshed. So I want to talk about what we can do to stop procrastinating because I'm actually thinking about this for myself. So the first thing is become more realistic about deadlines. Know you and know how much time you need to do something. I don't judge time well. I think things take way less time than they actually do. So I actually get advice when I want to take on a project. I talk to somebody about, am I managing this in the right way in terms of the amount of time I need? And every time people say no, because they do things really fast. So I think everybody else does things really fast, except the one thing I'm procrastinating on. Anyway, so get help with the deadline and don't multitask. Like all the literature says that procrastinators love to multitask. Don't do it. And I could see why, right? Because if you're anxious about it and you're multitasking, then you kind of are a bit distracted about what you have to do that you don't want to do. Look at the hours that you're putting a project in. Don't put the project time of something you don't like in your sleepiest time of the day. Really look at when are you the most productive. Think about time. It's important. And you know what? They have apps that can help you schedule projects and apps that can help manage your time. So that's a good place to look. Sometimes they talk about this on the podcast, like the elephant. How do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? Don't take the whole project on. I love the way I'm self-helping myself right now. Chunk it into pieces so that it's not one big, large project. It's smaller projects, and that can make it feel less overwhelming. That's actually what I did to really get started on this. So one is, what time of day are you freshest at? But then also, what time of day does your brain like to do things that are difficult? I definitely have times of the day where I'd rather tackle something more difficult and just do things that are breezier. Avoid overstimulation. I did this yesterday. I went to Whole Foods, which I love Whole Foods, but I find all the visuals very overstimulating. And then I came home to do the project and my brain was just too overstimulated. I think I'm making an excuse right now. No, it's true. So I learned that I can't do like a task like that before I have to do a visual task. Reward yourself. Oh, we have a lot of episodes on Beating Cancer Daily about self-cheer and rewarding, especially if you have to do like repetitive radiation or you have to go for multiple surgeries. Just really set up a reward system for yourself. It's not just for the kids. And you know what? When you don't do it and you procrastinate, don't punish yourself. Just work at the plan, right? Because punishing ourselves doesn't do anything. The experts actually say have an accountability partner. I told you I did this when I wanted to run more on time, and it really worked. And they say if you have a big project to do, don't isolate yourself completely. Yes, maybe you have to concentrate to do the project, but then have some social interaction also, because otherwise we can burn out. Unless you're a complete introvert and being social burns you out, then you might want to modulate that. And the last one is pay attention to your self-talk. And this goes along with punishing. Don't talk negatively to yourself about this. Use your self-talk as the cheerleader. And I love that episode that I did on the research behind cheering yourself and self-talk. What do you think about those? You think you can stop procrastinating just a little bit? So you know that this can manifest to a physical symptom, right? It's obvious. Whenever something is overwhelming or stressful to us, it can then manifest in the body. So I found an article published by the National Library of Medicine, the NIH, and it came from JAMA in 2023. And basically, it was a Swedish study that showed subsequent health problems among Swedish students who procrastinated. And we all remember what it was like to be in college and not write that paper until the morning of, and then, get a flu or get a massive stomach ache because we did that. So it does manifest into physical symptoms. And that's why I thought it would be really good to do this episode, because I don't want to get physical symptoms from my procrastination. I love that people are really talking about this and that it's something that we can share with each other. I think we can all be very guilty of it. And so I want to thank Very Well Mind, because that site had a really nice list that I referred to in this podcast. I also want to say that, we have different personality traits, and some lend themselves more to procrastination than others. And I have really heard that when you have had traumatic experiences, whether it's in childhood or adulthood, that can also manifest in procrastination. And a lot of people say, oh, you're lazy. This is because you're lazy. The research is showing that it's not necessarily laziness. It's that there was some trauma that's unresolved. And so we have a fear of possibly not doing something well and getting yelled at about it. I don't know if you had a tumultuous childhood and that could be what's coming up for you, but sometimes people procrastinate because they don't want something that people could target them for. Now, don't use that as an excuse of why you're not getting things done. I just wanted to go over some of the research that I was reading, and so we can really look at this. Have you heard the phrase revenge bedtime procrastination? But anything about sleep kind of catches my eye, right? So sometimes if you just pack a day with stuff and you don't take any time for yourself, you stay up until wee hours of the night just to get that unwind time or just to get that me time. And I have to say, I am definitely guilty of that. The other side of that is some people say that if you procrastinate and don't do what you needed to do in the daytime, that could cause you to have insomnia and keep you up all night because you didn't get done what you knew you needed to do. So I thought it was interesting that people looked at that sleep issue from both sides. And I think I've had both of them in my life. Was this helpful? I found it super helpful. It was like my own therapy session on procrastination. I wanted to give you a Charles Dickens quote because it resonated with me. And I wanted to leave this on a positive note. Charles Dickens said, "Never do tomorrow what you can do today. Procrastination is the thief of time." Amazing, right? I would also add the thief of energy. Think about that. Because when we're procrastinating, we're burning so much calories on guilt and overwhelm or anxiety about what we're not doing. So let's try it. Let's see. Are we better at not procrastinating now that we have some insight into it? I hope you go to comedycures.org and you really do tell me if this helped. I feel like it's helped me already, and I'm not even done the episode yet. Have a blessed day, and I'll see you tomorrow. If you loved today's episode, then tell the world. Why? Because Beating Cancer Daily is a listener and donor supported experience. So the more people you tell and the more people that join us, the more robust and interesting programs our nonprofit, the Comedy Cures Foundation, can bring to you throughout the year. So if you have some extra change, I'd love you to go to comedycures.org and make a donation today of whatever level is comfortable for you. And it will be tax deductible to the extent allowed by law, because Comedy Cures is a nonprofit 501c3 organization founded from my chemo chair, April 1999, and we've been going strong ever since. So please consider making a donation today and help our community and this podcast thrive. Guess what time it is? It's time for me to read the disclaimer. Beating Cancer Daily and the membership circle are not in lieu of medical advice or treatment. They are for entertainment purposes only. Please consult your healthcare team to review your best strategy. Thanks for listening. See you guys tomorrow.